my favorite knuckle draggers. Hey, it is Tuesday evening, February 4th. I'm right here with my favorite human being in the world, Tim. And we are we were actually we did a whole show before the show on accident. That's what happens when we talk, Tim. How it has been this is the third week. So we had a 2-week break.
Yeah.
That's my fault. One, I was busy the first Tuesday, and then last week in LA, and I just didn't have time to do it. And now that's a story we're gonna start with. But first, Tim, how are you, brother?
Well, you mentioned it was your fault, and I just want to remind everybody that finding fault is the most important thing because that solves everything. If you can find fault, then everything's fixed. Wrong. Wrong. No, I'm doing well. I'm going back and forth from Portland to Corvallis, and my wife's up there doing surgery. She's doing, as you know, she's an orthopedic surgeon, but she's doing cancer, like for a couple months on cancer. She's just it's tough because a lot of times it's on children removing tumors and things. You can't identify patients or whatever. But man, some of the it's hard on me. So I just challenge her. Did I tell you about the what she's doing? Did I have given you any info, Kimmy, last time we talked? So I'll tell you one quick story, then we'll go back to what we were talking about. This is kind of just, it gets me, So she does, she's phenomenal, I'm so proud of her because she just is if I could say it in a romantic, beautiful way, she's a knuckle dragger herself. She grew up born in Paris, but she grew up in Cameroon, and we'll get into her story one day, but she's just tough. She just keeps on grinding to get it done. And so she's up at OHSU up in Portland. And of course she's new up there. This is the first time really she's been up there basically a month. And she's a traveling surgeon and what have you. But when you get somebody new, you just never know how they're going to be or whatever. And she was on call this last weekend, and she just got obliterated with consults and cases. It was crazy. And she just ran with it. She's like, okay, we got to do this. We're going to do a plaster, do this cast, whatever. And there was no rooms available because it was just slammed. And so nurse was saying, I don't know, what are we going to, no, we're going to do it right here. She said, oh, it'll be a mess. No, we're going to make it so it's not a mess. And we right in the hallway, just getting it done. And anyway, they were so impressed with her because they're just after and it's, they're nurses, as they run 12-hour shifts, but there's no shift for a surgeon. They just go until it's done. It's like, sometimes
there's no more surgery.
Yeah, so it's like 24 hours. I'm just, she's on call, she's there. So when you get slammed, anyway, she's done great. But I think it was maybe a weekend. It was between this time that we've talked, and she had a young boy. Careful, I won't give too many details. He's 13, and terminal, and just has been through it. Just been through everything, and she had to remove his femur, and it's tough, and then I guess the next day or the day after, I can't remember what it was, she's got to pull the drain out, and the boy doesn't want to be touched, doesn't want to be, he's just had it, and the parents, unfortunately, and I want to say this carefully, that they, because I get it, they checked out. They just couldn't, they can't, they were in the corner of the room, and she needed support because the boy wasn't going to, he just didn't want to have anything to do with it, right? And so, but the parents weren't supportive. They just weren't there. They just frozen because of, you just imagine, as your child, you're going through that, and it's been going on for 13 years, right? So it's just like, and they just, emotionally were just unable. And so Marielle, she got it done, and walked through it, worked it out in and we have, as we talk about the 5-minute journal or whatever. We go through, I give her some downloads, for her, so she could just, I always want her to not be insensitive, because that ER room or trauma surgery, and it can get you after a while, just one after another. And
Yeah.
especially when you're dealing with, if you got homeless, or if you got meth heads, and you just you don't want to lose that human touch, that human element. And so we and not that she would, but you just, anybody's vulnerable. So anyway, keep my story short here. So
No, you're good.
she was downloading, and she was a little, it wasn't like she was upset at the parents. She was just upset. And upset's not the right word. She was just, it got her, right? This 13-year-old boy been through it all. And then that really got her is that he didn't have any support. His parents were there, and she wasn't blaming the parents. She gets it.
Yeah.
But he was on his own, and she's trying to walk this through, and it just really got her. And it gets me too. So I just looked at her and I said, Marielle, I could just tell you that if it was our son, I would want someone like you in that situation taking care of it. So
Yeah.
Anyway, that's starting off on a high, happy note.
Yeah, that's the everybody talks about, I want to be a doctor, should have been a doctor.
Yeah.
There's you got to do doctor shit. And that's not all like just having boats and mansions. There's some work involved. And it'll probably work that touches physically, mentally, and spiritually, all of them.
Yeah.
Probably good and bad. Good and bad. There's good high spots and low spots, I'm sure.
Right,
Just like
right. Well, and it's an incredible amount of work they go through. I mean, it's a 80, 100-hour weeks. If she has an 80-hour week, it's a low week.
Yeah.
No, I'm not complaining, but most people, it might be changing a little bit as far as the respect or the view, the hierarchy view of, I want to be a doctor. I don't know if people want to be a doctor anymore as much as they used to, maybe 50, 20 years ago, whatever. But you're right. It's to see what she goes through it's a challenge, right? And so, and then a lot of people, they want the money, right? They want to, they think, go for it, get paid, they make good money. I'm just telling you, the trend is not great for medicine, and hopefully Bobby Jr. might change that. But it's doctors do less and less doctoring, and more being told what to do by pharmaceutical companies and insurance companies, and oftentimes that's not in the best interest of the patient, and so it's a really big challenge, and they get paid in essence less and less. But without that criticism, you got to go through a lot. And to her credit, she's don't get me wrong, me, I like to make money, but she's have I told you she really wants to spend a year on the Mercy Ship? Have you heard of the Mercy Ship? That's cool. You have to look it up sometime, mercyship.org. But basically, I don't know how many they have now, 3 or 4, but they convert basically ships that are almost ready to be retired, but they convert them to surgery centers, and then they go into a harbor in a third world country and do, knees, shoulders, cleft palates, whatever it is.
Whatever needs to get done.
Yeah. And so you raise your own money to go volunteer for a year, and you live on the boat on the ship for a year, and you just do that. And that's you know, one of her, probably the next thing that's on our list to do, and then she wants to, we want to go to Central South America or back to Cameroon and back and forth. So it's not like there's going to be then we're in a position to be able to do that, but it's some people are looking forward to making big dollars in the surgery realm, and it hasn't been her motive yet to do that. But it's a lot of work to go to try to give back. A lot of work to get there, man. It's just she's going through it. So anyway, so back to you.
What were we talking about? We were talking about my buddy that so he does he's like 18, 19 and a complete knuckle dragon drunk. Just
Yeah.
like I was.
Yeah.
Not headed to college or business school, but headed to the bar after work, doing heat and air work. And his parents own the heat and air company, and it's a
And how
pretty
many
decent.
years ago was this approximately? So we have a time setting.
I would say this is early 90s.
Okay. Okay.
So back in the 1900s.
Yeah. 30 years ago.
So he is so his parents fired him. His mother, to be exact, fired him. His dad didn't. His mother did. So he is drunk. Roams the streets for a couple days. Decides to go knock on a Radio Shack's door, see if he could change their filters. Like his plan was, he had like a $1.35 in his pocket. He'd run over to the Ace Hardware and buy a couple filters and do a PM, make $50.
Yeah.
But they didn't want. But that was his parents. Like that was like they knew him, right? So he tells them like no, blah blah blah. So he goes to the next place and it's a Pizza Hut, and they didn't let him either. But he noticed that they had one light bulb that was out, and he said, who changes your light bulbs? And they said, sometimes we get a guy that comes through here, and he goes, I'll be your guy. I'll be here once a month and I'll change all your light bulbs. And that guy said, okay. And so he went to that Pizza Hut and changed the light bulbs and did that the one time. And then the guy had two more stores. So he just kept going. And in that first month, he went to treatment and sobered up.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's a big part. Sorry.
Yeah.
So now he's sober with 3 Pizza Huts. And then the guy knew the general manager of a new kind of up and coming, probably not, but down there. This is this is in Arizona. Mm-hmm. So Starbucks is new. We knew the general manager over there. So he got to change the first light bulb at the Starbucks and then the second Starbucks. Then he changed light bulbs in all the Starbucks and all the Pizza Huts and all of Arizona and then New Mexico. And then they said, he kept asking, can I do your HVAC? We like our HVAC guy. We like our HVAC guy. But he just said, I just kept turning light bulbs. And one day, Chuck hit me on the back of the shoulder when I was climbing up the ladder and goes, you know what? It's your lucky fucking day. And he goes, what's going on? And he said, heat and air guy pissed me off. And he did his first Starbucks service call on a packaged rooftop unit. And I'll tell you, so that was like a few years of changing light bulbs and eating shit and what I call spiritual kindergarten, mm-hmm. which is the window lickers of America. And that is how us drunks that find our way to get sober and have a spiritual experience and get to cross over that hump. But we're fucking window lickers, knuckle draggers. But we are consistent. Yeah. And, can I off topic really quick, Tim?
Yeah.
I know a lot of fucking drunks. Some of the smartest guys I know, street smarts, business smarts, like they have money, they grind. They're just hustlers. They just don't sit down much. They just get after it once they sober up.
Yeah.
Pretty impressive.
You think about how you're walking uphill all the time when you're drinking. I mean, they have to overcome that and then be successful on top of that. That means if you take it, it's just they're phenomenal. Yeah, I mean they're
Hey,
really
I've explained it to people. I said, well, I could tell you where my hustle comes from. My hustle comes from that second day that you're up and you're trying to find fucking heroin. You're trying to find at least a 10 bag just to come down a little bit. And that's a grind. You think grind up? I tell my tech, you think getting up on that roof is a grind? Try 2 a.m. trying to find a dime bag in the middle of Milwaukee where you don't belong, bro.
yeah,
That's a grind, dude. This
yeah,
is nothing.
right,
So really, if you were like a hardcore alcoholic like I was, like I loved to get in the gutter and get down in there. Like
yeah,
this is nothing. This is an easy way to live. It's much easier.
yeah, yeah,
But so he parlays that one light bulb. Well, I'll say that one get lost Jay, but he knocked on the next door
right,
and found that one light bulb. Like he parlayed that into a national fucking service company
wow,
that rivals Linux. And it actually they did more than Linux last year. I can tell you that.
wow, that's an amazing story.
But he sold it about 7 years ago. He works for it now. So
Mm,
he got his bag, I'll tell you that.
that's so cool.
So it's just like those kind of little stories just make you think, there's one more door. You know, this
Yeah,
I can go hit that next one.
yeah, yeah. You got to keep you got to keep at it. Got to keep working. Man, just keep at it. Right? I mean, you can't give up. If you that's a loser every time that gives up.
And I know that fork in the road, that $1.35 that you could buy a little more liquor, or you could buy 2 20 by 16 filters and parlay that into
Yeah,
$50, right? But
absolutely.
in that moment, not getting that liquor is hard decision.
Yeah,
That is a hard fucking decision.
and you
You have to
deceive
be able
yourself,
to have some foresight to be able to see the $60 on the other end.
and you lie to yourself all the time. And says, "I'm going to get the liquor because I'll make it. I'll figure out a way to get it. But I'm
Yeah,
going to get the liquor first."
I
And
got
then,
it. I got this far. You think I got homeless this fast? Like I'm a professional drunk. I'll find some more.
yeah, yeah, that's tough. Yeah, so those people are. And when you look at, you pick a trade, but like painters, most. I mean, I can't not to point bad at, but oftentimes painters are alcoholics, and man, you go to
Well,
their
I
bank,
do know a lot of them too. I know a lot of them. I always thought because it was an easy business to start. And alcoholics, we don't like to fucking work for people.
right, right. Well, but I'm always surprised. I mean, I'm always surprised when talking business or investments, and it's a painter, and he wants to invest in something. Whip out, he'll write a check for 125 grand.
Right
So
now.
yeah,
And
it's like,
hey, you know what else? Tile guys. You want to go
oh,
go hang out with the back row of the window lickers in the local church in the
yeah,
basement where the smoke's coming from. Those
yeah,
guys down there. There's a bunch of tile guys down there too. Tile
yeah,
guys, painters, yep,
yeah,
carpenters,
yeah,
and they're savvy as f. Dude. They
yeah,
get after it.
yeah.
They got some hustle behind them. I got to be right back, Tim. You fill up for about 2 minutes. I'll be
Okay,
right back.
okay.
Reagan's yelling at me.
So there's a. I'm reminded of I saw it somewhere. I think it was a female jet fighter pilot. I can't remember what the scenario was, but I think it was. And she was being it was a superior officer was giving her some advice, and she was being overwhelmed because when she first started, she had no flight experience whatsoever, and they kind of just threw her right into the barrel of flying, right? And of course, there's a lot to learn and a lot to know, and she was overwhelmed. And the officer just said, "Let me give you a word of advice." She said, and it was, she had a little story to it, but it was basically, all you're focused on is the closest alligator. and so it's pretty cool advice, because when we look at trying to get, it's good to have the big picture, but when we look at trying to get through something that we're overwhelmed about, just breaking it down and looking at the first task at hand, and that's all. Don't focus on anything else, and just go for it. And you tackle one, and then look for the next closest alligator. But when you try to do them all at once, or think about all the things you got to do, you get wiped out. So, well, let's talk a little bit about Trump's on a roll, and it's affected. I'm looking at the markets and investment. I'm looking at Bitcoin. It's probably down to 96 today. It's kind of fluctuation recently from 109 down to the mid 90s. I think the last time we talked, I was bullish on Bitcoin, but I thought it was going to take a peak up, and it did, but that it could drop down to 95. I think it went down all the way to 89, but it's hovering around the 98 right now, 99, something like that. But I'm, watching it. I think I've been buying the dips, and I think it's going to go up. So, all right, he's back.
What'd you figure out? Anything good?
Oh, I told the alligator story. So I don't have to repeat it, but I will. There's a new recruit Air Force female jet pilot that knew nothing about flying. She just wanted to be a jet pilot, and she was, she's thrown into the pool, right? And just so overwhelmed with having to know everything and know it all now. And her commanding officer just pulled her aside because she was overwhelmed and losing it, right? She was not staying above water. And just said, I want you to remember one thing, and it's take out the closest alligator. and don't worry about anything else. And because oftentimes in life, when we think about all that we got to do, or we get overwhelmed, it's just, I love the alligator story. Just focus on one thing, and that's the closest alligator. Then go down the list. Don't worry about anything else until after that. Yeah. So.
Yeah. So what'd you kind of have tonight? Do you got anything? What did you probably already talked Bitcoin, didn't you, while I was gone?
I talked really quickly. Let me see if I can get back here. Just about Bitcoin. It's the market's been really kind of interesting. I've pulled out of all crypto except Bitcoin, and I'm not leveraging anything, and I'm buying the dips. So I've been buying as it it was like went up to 109, and then it went down to like 88, 89. I think I bought some more at 91, and it's probably up to 98, 99 as we talk. But I think that it's going to do this. It's going to continue to consolidate, go back and forth a little bit, but ultimately I think we're looking, hopefully it'll get to the 110 mark pretty soon, but it might be 150 by the end of the year, and maybe sooner. I think it's going to go up.
It's at 97.
97, yeah. So we had a little peak up at 109 within the last month, or whatever is the last 2 or 3 weeks, or a week or 2 weeks ago, maybe week and a half, I don't know. So now I'm just I'm following the trend, so I'm bullish on it. I think it's still a good buy at 97, 98. I think it's going to go by the end of this quarter. I always say I'm not a predictor, but the signs are that pretty good. we never got the liquidity dump that I was hoping for, and Trump's kind of switching that up. The dollar strong, gold's up, and it's kind of interesting what's happened. But I still think Bitcoin's going to go up. I'm buying, so
You're in.
I'm in. I'm
Is
buying.
Is Trump in?
Trump is in. I don't know if he's invested or probably, he's got the whole meme coin is crap, but he's pro Bitcoin.
Yeah,
So
that's what I thought I heard.
yeah, and I think that I don't know what the latest is on Roger Ver. That's an amazing story. The Silicon Road guy. They need to let him out. Pardon him.
So he is pardoned, right?
He might have been. I've been
He
kind
did
of.
it. He did it on day one. It's done.
I don't know.
Or maybe not.
No, I think he did the January 6ers, but I don't know if he did Veers. So, but yeah, Google that and find out. I don't think so. I think he's
Silk Road pardon.
Roger Ver, VER. Bless you.
Sorry. Excuse me. U.S. President Donald Trump says he has signed a full and unconditional pardon for Ross Ulbricht. Yep, he did.
Ross
he signed
Ulbricht.
it.
Okay. Well, what about? Yeah, I got the name mixed up. I'm thinking the Bitcoin Jesus.
Oh yeah. I don't know. That's pretty new. I have not heard anything about him.
I don't know the whole story behind him, but man, they tried to put him away for a couple 100 years and for taxes when he did everything possible he could do right. And they were like future taxes. They weren't even legit taxes. And he has
not been pardoned. Hey, the fucking government hates you. They just are fucking cartel.
Well, isn't that coming out of the woodwork now so clear? All this corruptness, and everybody that's complaining is because they got something to hide. Old Chucky Schumer boy.
All of them. I think it's on both sides. I think it's on both sides.
Oh, it is. It is.
I think we're going to see some legitimate retirements.
Well,
they're all 90.
We need some legitimate prosecutions and hangings.
Yes. Or it's just going to keep happening. Like somebody's got to stop it. You got to be a little bit like, you got to shock and awe some motherfuckers. Excuse me.
Let's have a legitimate trial. But man, if you're using an NGO to get kickbacks and you're a senator and you're using it to invade our country with cartels and sex traffickers, and I don't care,
that's what the Super Bowl halftime show should be. Fucking lynching straight up.
Absolutely. I was going to say the exact same thing. Absolutely.
Yes. So that's a death penalty, homie. Fuck you.
Yeah. Could you imagine having some swingers at halftime? Because people would watch it and then they would be reminded, I don't know if I want to run for office or not. And that's a perfect mentality.
Well, let's clear. Hey, it'll clear some motives out of the fucking room. Some bad motives. And let's get some good motives. Fuck your intentions. I give two fucks about them.
Can you imagine them being critical of Elon because the guys that he brought in are all can't rent a car because they're not old enough? And
but are they what so I have not heard all this. So Tim, I've been kind of grinding to work for like the last week and a half. Catch me up a little bit. I've bits and pieces. That's all I've gotten. Like he's got some young guy engineers or something working for him. Well, of course he does.
He's finding the dark corners and turning on the lights, and the rats are running, right?
Boy, they are.
What's happening is that for years, different corners of government have been hiding, not responding to requests, FOIA requests, everything else, and accounting. So he's gone in. A couple things he's done is because he's been blocked at every step. So one, he says, okay, so he just went to the IRS and wanted all of the payment records. Where's the money going to? And of course, they tried to block that, so they fired the key people that were blocking it, and then they went to USAID, which is nothing about USAID.
Nothing.
It's all about the CIA and other State Department starting protests and overthrowing governors. You know, Bolsonaro in Brazil would be president if it wasn't for USAID. They undermined the whole candidacy down there, and then USAID was the ones that with whatever Victoria Nuland, the commie that
Boy, that's a fucking name.
in Ukraine, where she picked the cabinet and they wiped out the Democratic elected president and his cabinet, and they installed him all with the funding of USAID. This is CIA.
They installed a fucking midget actor named Zelensky.
Yeah, and this is how you get never have a job. You can go you can go through and never have a job, Chuck Schumer, and be worth on paper in cash $80 million. Who knows what he's worth? That's
in
not
real life.
In real life, and never have a job. Only work for the government your whole life, and you do that, and you become an $80 million, man. So that's how do you do that? Well, you do it with USAID. That's how you do it, and they fund these NGOs that then the NGOs. I mean, you look at Obama. Obama came up today. They showed a graph of all the lines. It's like an airlines, like airplanes in the globe, where they're flying, of just trailing the money that went to Obama. And it's so many lines in a ball and stuff. It looks like a cancer combination of. It looks like a cancer cluster. It's so unbelievable. So they just make this so convoluted so they can get away with it, But they got these kid programmers in there doing the programming to find all the money trails. They're trailing it, and so now, AOC and her brilliancy. She said today she was smarter than Musk, and
At what? Like in what?
Precisely.
What? Can you smell? Can you spell it, honey?
So they're all complaining, they because he's got kids in the IRS and in the USAID. He said, yeah, the program, they're deconstructing what happened, because they're smart, and so they were complaining. Their kids, you can't do that, and so someone did some research on one of the kids. He's still in college.
Yeah.
And he did AI to look at burnt scrolls that were burned in the, I think the Roman times when, who was it that fiddled while Rome burned? Nero. These scrolls got smashed and they burned, right? And so they're taking the ashes, and he used AI and programmed it so they could pull off the letters and see and then start reading the paragraphs. It's unbelievable. And he won a $40,000 prize for doing it. And he said, this is all, this is the training I got at the University of Nebraska. And so the guys
are playing video games, probably.
Yeah, they're all kind of a little bit on the spectrum of autism, but they're phenomenal. And so here's AOC and the libtards, crashing on them, but they're more brilliant. So that's what we want to bring to government, is some brilliance.
Yes, and no agenda. Like they just want to go there and fucking do their job.
Yeah, they want to.
Because it's fun.
Yeah, it's not politics to them. It's really about being excellent, right? And going after getting the results, getting the answers. And that's really the way we've got to be careful on the prosecution here. But
how interesting do you think that is? I mean, what they're finding, because like we're getting what they're telling us, like, but it might be like a skim on the top. Like it may be come depth as we go further in time, but like what do you think they're actually finding like right now? Like probably just like what the fuck kind of shit, you know?
Well,
And how many Jimmy, Judy, and Johnny are fucking got their hand in the fucking in our tax money?
oh, there's a lot. So,
Yeah.
but people have been calling out on this for a long time, like Rand Paul, Thomas,
Renaissance.
Thomas Massey. A lot
Or
of
yeah,
them, they've been calling out on these wastes, and they know it's happening. But now the evidence is there, and it is unbelievable. Like Elon said yesterday, it's funny because these libtards journalists, they just never give up, and they're always trying to do the gotcha moment.
they are
And
so bad now though. They're at the bottom of the barrel, Tim. It's pretty funny.
even when you got the neocon warmongers like Mark Rubio, you
That
can
much. Why is he in there?
Trump put him in there, and
Why?
and that's part of the problem. But at least when you're surrounded by the Musk and Viveks and
Do you think
Kennedy.
it was just because you have to have that guy to get around a little bit, but he's like under like he's under a microscope, like we need your face and we need your
Yeah,
reputation, but motherfucker, listen, this is what we're doing, homie. So
you
know
know,
that.
you can look at some things that Trump's doing
He's
and
not
just say,
dumb. It's the art of the deal. It's like watching the book unfold with Canada and Mexico. It's like all they had to do was read the book and understand what he was doing.
yeah, let's circle around that, but let's
Yeah.
talk about the negative first.
Yep.
Trump is horrific in some ways, and he failed last term. He was a complete failure, I would
Yeah.
say, because of the expectation and the potential, and he didn't live up to it. Now, people say, whoa, whoa, whoa. No, he surrounded himself with swamp rats like Robert Mueller and Comey and Bill Barr and Bolton. He surrounded himself with swamp rats that then undermined everything he did. And he's the only one responsible for that. Now, he was green. He didn't know politics from a
He wasn't
presidential
green to
viewpoint.
business.
No, he knew better.
Yes.
And he was we told him, don't do this. And he did it anyway. And not only that, he knew the election was rigged and he didn't do anything about it. Not a damn thing. And then he put, Giuliani and Pillowman and this female attorney that, you don't put those people in place to challenge an election because they're goofballs and they don't know what they're doing, right? All of them were just horrific. The real, election issues, you look at Dinesh, the Mule movie. He was on target. This is where they're attacking. And you got to go in and start prosecuting people and stop it. And Trump did it. You can't just talk and expect the libtards and the deep staters to be fair. They won't be. They're going to cheat, lie to you right to your face as they're shaking your hand. And so we shouldn't have had a non-Trump. We shouldn't have had a Joe Biden. That's on Trump. So you can talk about how great Trump is. Trump gave us Joe Biden because he started hugging the swamp rats. Now, we're not perfect. Coming full circle, they tried to kill him, and they've tried to take his money. They tried to put him in prison. They tried to take his business, from his children. Yeah, so now he's got a little bit of wild hair up his butt that he doesn't give a crap, right?
And he's a lame duck, right? There's no coming back from, like, he ain't gonna win next time.
Well, yeah, and he's got to get it done. And so he's been doing some great stuff and some stuff that's not so great, but overall, pretty impressive. I'm not a Susan Wiles fan. You know who her father was? You know who Susan Wiles is?
She is, go ahead, chief of staff?
Yeah, chief of staff, White House chief of staff. And, but her father was Pat Summerall.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So, but she's been
That's why you didn't like her, because you didn't like that pick.
No, I did not like. She tends to have very deep state connections, but
Deep state vibes. She give me deep state vibes, lady.
but um, I will say so. Anyway, yeah, she's been basically a lobbyist from the pharmaceuticals to everybody forever, her career, and then a hack, and a Republican hack. So, but Trump picked her, and because she had squirmed into his ear, and this has been the problem of the last time that Trump was, president, was people controlling who got to his ear, and so you don't want gosh, we've had plenty of that. But to her credit, she took on, no, I'm going to get these appointees through, with the big three, with RFK and Tulsi and who's the third that were, Pete Hegseth, I guess, was one. She's got, who's the three people that are getting approved right now?
Oh, they got RFK, our boy for FBI, Cash Patel, and
Cash.
Tulsi Gabbard.
She failed completely on the let's see. She failed completely on Matt Gaetz, right? She failed on that one. Are you there?
Yeah, I'm listening.
I lost
you. She did.
And so we because of that, I was, big time kind of concerned because, I don't know. I hope Bondi's good. The thumbs are up on her. They're kind of iffy before, but she's not a Matt Gaetz, and
she's not a fucking gun grab. She's a fucking gun grabber.
Right.
She just fucking gives me that vibe.
And we kind of have the mentality now that, hey, we don't care. We're going to get through who we want to get through. We don't care. And at the time when they announced Matt Gaetz, it was more of he was still playing picket fence straddler. Yeah. So I think it's unfortunate to a level that we got to Pam Bondi's, and it's like a Mark Rubio. So, but I will tell you, for Rubio, he went and he went and met the El Salvador president, and made a deal with them. Did you hear this? That he says, "Hey, we'll take your prisoners, and for a fee, we'll take your prisoners, and we won't overcharge you either, but you can send them here. We'll take all of the El Salvadorans, and we'll take U.S. citizens. We'll put them through our prison system." and all of the illegal aliens, but that just anybody you want, we'll put them in that need to be incarcerated. We'll do it. And so that was kind of funny. And then, so I think Rubio, who you surround himself with, will behave to a certain degree. And but it's unfortunate that you got a senator that, he's just a neocon, right?
Yeah.
But
he's another Lindsey Graham fucking blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, no, Lindsey Graham is just a total outright traitor. And
he's a fucking, I hate him, dude.
Yeah,
how does he keep getting elected?
Well, you look at the USA, that's why he was against he's he was raised so much resistance. All of them, we have been saying for years, oh, the comeuppance are coming. You get the Alex Jones treatment of, oh, but this is going to happen, and it doesn't happen, right? I'm not saying that Alex Jones has been right about a lot of things, but where people get hope there's going to be some accountability, and there never is. So I'm not holding my breath even this time, but this is the closest we've ever gotten. This is the closest we've ever gotten to a golden age, and where Elon's going in and they're just resisting like crazy. And so the more resistance you get, the more you know that you're over the target and they
You're
got
doing
something.
good.
Yeah. So
He doesn't fuck around much, Tim. He just goes to work, and he just doesn't really care what you say.
I'm so impressed sometimes with him with some of his interview skills when he's being interviewed, but when he's doing the interviewing, he's absolutely terrible. He can't. He has no capacity to listen. I think it's his autism or something. He had Vivek and Joni Ernst, which I don't have, uh, 2 cents for, but he had Vivek and Mike, who's the senator from Utah? Mike
Reed?
Lee.
Lee.
Yeah, he's come a long ways too. And
Did you
when
see
you
the
have,
bill he introduced today?
what's that?
He introduced taking suppressors off the NFA list.
Oh,
NFA, is
sweet,
that right? Yeah.
sweet. Well, I was I, I he's sharp. I like Mike Lee. I like to listen to him what he's got to say, and Vivek what they have to say, on particular questions. And so he did a live thing off of X. Elon did with Vivek and Mike Lee and Joni Ernst. I don't want to think if there's anybody else. I don't really care to ever listen to Joni Ernst. I think she's a windbag with her finger in the air to see which way the wind is blowing. But she talks, kind of a tired game. So anyway, I don't care if he interrupts her, but he didn't really interrupt her. But I got some beeping going on here. He interrupted both Vivek and Mike without ever they could never get 2 or 3 words out. He goes, yeah, and then just would take off. And I was like, Elon, shut your mouth for a second, man. These people got something to say. And they were cool about it.
They probably know him.
Oh, I'm sure Vivek does for sure. But and they were all, he wanted them on just to discuss what was going on and what their approach was. And so, and then the questions would come up and then they'd just start to answer. And then Elon just interrupts them like crazy. Just like, he'd drive you nuts. And, but I've heard him in interviews where he's being interviewed and he's really calm and he waits and sometimes he pauses and when people could talk and it's powerful. So anyway, I'm going to say that's a side note, but Trump, like this sovereign wealth fund sounds all good, but we don't need the government to be a competitor. They shouldn't be in business. In fact, the government really shouldn't own anything.
Mm-hmm.
So we don't, I'm just kind of principally opposed to, creating a fund that's in competition with other investors. Why would the government do? I don't want that. But on the same token, I was thinking about it, and endowments are powerful. That's why all these major universities get away with so much crap. But they can be a very good thing. For example, if like a private school would be one that you love for them not to be doing fundraisers all the time just to survive. And if you had if they were endowed, which means, breaking it down is that if there's a pool of money that's the investments are going to the school, then they don't have to raise money every week, right? And
right.
they're endowed. And so what often times is that if a company, it's like Alex Jones, they put him through this mill of all this lawfare warfare, and basically doing everything they can to shut him down. But one of the problems with Alex Jones, he doesn't do advertisers really, very few. But he's always asking for money, and it's a big turnoff. But you understand he's got to survive, but it's such a turnoff. And he's a drama queen. Other than that, he does a lot of good things. Brings a living, but I can't stand his drama. He sounds like everything's so Darth Vader-ish or something. And then he's always asking for money. But if he were endowed, if he could just live off the investments, then they don't have to ask for money. And I think that's powerful. And if I had my druthers in government, I would endow it, meaning instead of just taking money in from taxes and tariffs and what have you and spending it and going into debt, no, let's take 10% of it, 20% of it, or whatever, 50% of it, and invest it so that and just build that pool until the government can run self-sufficiently and autonomously off of those investments.
And give us our fucking money back.
And don't take our money at all, right? But get the roads built, get the things done, and live within the means of this investment and keep growing the investment. I think that's powerful. And why wouldn't you do that just to be an autonomous government? So they weren't taxing, period. Why have tariffs, period? You could do without either if you just had the endowment. And so what I would do is take what they're, and we got to get out of debt. I mean, it's the debt is not the most important thing, but it's pretty up there high. I think regulation is the most important thing to remove, because unless you turn the people free to make money and to prosper, you're never going to change it. Even if you got rid of all the debt, it wouldn't change a thing. So you've got to allow the people to prosper. And so that's deregulating the stupid laws, no more protective mosquito laws, so we can't, drill for oil. It's just nonsense. So okay, one last story. I saw a quick little interview. Barbara on Shark Tank, the older lady with the short hair.
Yep, she does the Q network a lot. She's like, yep, she's a shopping network lady.
No, I think that's the other one with the long blonde hair.
Yeah. The young. Okay, I got Barbara's you. The
older one with the short hair. She's got a little savvy to her. I think she's probably liberal oriented, and so some journalists knew that she knew Trump and also knew what her politics were. And so they thought they were going to get a good gotcha interview with some dirt on Trump. And so they're asking her, well, what was Trump like? You know him and you've done business around him. And she goes, basically, again, I'll botch these stories. Basically, she goes, he's 4 or 5 years older than me. And so we grew our real estate empires at the same time in the same area, New York City. So I do know him. In fact, there are some things that only he's the best at. I've never seen anybody do what he can do. And that is without even, just immediately, just in the room, when he can find your weakness, even without words, just find your weakness and know how to leverage that and to get you on board. And he said,
he's a good businessman.
Yeah, I've never seen anybody with that skill like that and his level ever. And so the guy goes, well, give me an example. He goes, okay. She goes, I was a broker on a deal. I was part of the broker team and for Trump. I don't know if he was for Trump or for the other people, but these people, investors from Hong Kong years ago, really wanted to buy one of Trump's towers in New York City. And so they were coming in town. They came in town to buy. They could just taste it. They really wanted it. And so Barbara's in the meeting. Cochran is her name, I think. So they're all, in their meeting, and Trump doesn't answer any questions, doesn't want to talk about the building, doesn't want to talk about sale, doesn't want to talk about that. All he wants to talk about is a piece of land that they could develop, and it would be fantastic. And so Barbara's thinking in her head, man, sometimes he just misses it completely. He doesn't, he can't. Wonder why he's not reading the room, because they're interested. This is the deal. They want it. They can taste it. They want it. This tower, and Trump won't even talk to him about the tower. and then she says, and lo and behold, if you go up that strip of land right now, it's got all kinds of towers on it. Those Taiwanese businessmen bought that and developed that whole strip of land. And Trump sold it to him. And he sold him the tower too.
And yes.
So, so anyway, she has a lot of respect for him. And then she said, and that's what he's done to the American people too. And she winked, he's found their weakness and they got him on board, which I don't really agree with. I think Trump is no dummy, but I think that he loves this country and he's sick of it being trampled over.
And I think he wants his name to be enshrined that he did it. He did it.
Yeah, I mean, the guy's got an ego, but he's also...
That's okay. You know what? What leader, good, efficient leader, doesn't have a fucking ego? Well, I mean, really. You got to have a little bit. You got to know you're the man. When you walk into a room, you got to suck the air up.
Yeah, but George C. Patton, he didn't have an ego. Theodore Roosevelt didn't have an ego. I'm just teasing you. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, no. Any alpha's gonna have that dog.
Yeah.
It's like Trump is like the wolf and puppy story that study.
Yeah.
Where the dog will sit there and look at the human when he can't figure it out once. Like, what do I do next? And the wolf's over there fucking grinding and getting after it until the problem's solved.
Yeah.
And they look at you different.
Yeah. You did.
They look the same, but they look different.
Yeah. So yeah, go ahead.
Well, I just it's a pleasant change because Biden isn't that. He's a sack of fucking skin. It's just pathetic. The minute he stepped up to a microphone, he's pathetic. He couldn't lead. When Trump walks into a room of leaders, it's all eyes on me, motherfuckers. America's here. And that's who he is. And that if he wasn't president, if Biden's president and they walked in together, it'd still be all eyes on Trump.
Yeah, absolutely. But you go Biden, Obama, Bush, really Clinton.
Good politician. Bill Clinton was a good politician. I remember that.
He was, but he was a crook. I mean, he was.
Yeah, no, he's a shitty human, but I'm just saying that he's a good politician.
He was. He could. Well,
good at it.
He had the ability to take over a room by walking in it too.
That's that. So does Trump.
Yeah.
And you know what? There's Democrats that have that, and they fucking hate him.
Yeah.
They're not gonna let a dude that steals the room like that in.
Well,
so how do you fucking win? How are you going to win?
So, I mean, look what I'm not saying that these have that characteristic, but they certainly have more than the average or the best Democrat in their mind. But that's why they kicked Bobby Kennedy out. What they did to Bobby Kennedy was, they literally kicked the most Democratic family in history out of the Democrat Party.
He fought a liberal fight for 30 years in the courtroom.
They wouldn't let him run for president. Now, how terrible.
He might have beat Trump.
He might have beat Trump. He certainly would have been better than Kamala or Biden.
Boy, what a fall from grace Miss Kamala's had, huh? I don't even know if she's alive. I haven't even heard her fucking name. I haven't seen her.
Yeah, it's crazy. And then, but then you look at Tulsi Gabbard. They kicked her out too. I mean, she left it, but they
They kicked
treated
her
her.
out.
She ran for president, and they made her a they just treated her like crap. And here's she grew up a Democrat. She's a Democrat Congress lady. So
She's from Hawaii. I don't think there's a Republican on the island. And
no,
she is, he's a tourist. He's
yeah,
leaving in a week.
but both of them are sharp, right? They're
Yeah.
both sharp. And,
Phenomenal.
phenomenal.
That Trump has a big tint. Trump's a fucking Democrat if we really get down to it. I mean, he's a 90s Democrat, 80s Democrat.
Yeah,
That's who he hung out with. That was his crowd in New York.
Absolutely.
It's just, I don't know if this Democrat Party can survive. They're gonna have to. It's gonna have to look different. They're gonna have to get back to the 90s. They want.
Yeah, but they can't because they don't have those people.
No, and Trump made this tint really big.
Yeah, well, you look at the statesmen. I wouldn't call him statesman, but you look at like who was the guy from Connecticut for a long time?
No,
that was an independent. But anyway, there's senators they don't have anymore that were just they were old Democrats that had some character, right? They weren't just grifters. And but now you have the Pelosi's and the Schumers. And you got Hakeem, that's a leader in the.
It's a fucking like the Stepford Wives of fucking Orange County. It's so fucking dramatic. It's a reality show in that Congress hall. It's disgusting. Have you ever watched it? You just turn on C-SPAN and listen to these idiots. Fucking everybody's trying to get a TikTok video. It's ridiculous.
Well, but it's unbelievable what they were saying today. Both AOC and Hakeem. Hakeem was, they're out in front of the USA building.
A dime store Obama, Hakeem Jeffries. That's what he is.
Yeah,
fucking dollar store Obama, and he's awful.
He was saying that we must stop. Omar or whatever, Omar from Minnesota, the illegal alien. She was saying that we told you Trump's a dictator. Now he's closing down.
You're fucking your brother, Omar.
Yeah,
Shut the fuck up. Sit this one out, kid.
But then Hakeem gets up there and says, you can't have a billionaire coming in and stealing our money. That's what he's doing by going to the IRS and looking at this private information, and he's going to steal our money. And
that's your money, bitch.
And the USA stealing the American people's money, and the USA think, well, there's two organizations, that are stealing our money, and this guy is. And
for how many years? For how many years have they been stealing our money?
And it's incredible. I mean, just the level of how stupid he thinks we are, that we would buy that hypocrisy that this is the fraud, and he's challenging it. Oh, they're going to steal the money. Well, you've been so fraudulent, and they're just total crooks. I mean, just
has he figured out that Elon owns Twitter, and there's a whole new ecosystem that they ain't controlling no more. Every time he gets on C-SPAN, it's only fucking the anchor and his mother that is watching.
Yeah, it's crazy. Well, they're all kind of blind to the CNN, NBC.
They don't even get it. They don't fucking get it.
They don't care. Well, they live in the bubble of DC.
Yeah.
And I think
that's another point of contention too, right there. The bubble of DC.
Well, yeah.
Spread that shit out.
How can there be an uproar because Trump says you got to go back to work? You can't work from home.
Why is the Department of Agriculture in fucking DC, Tim?
Yeah. I'm thinking that we should raise that. Trump will move them out. They should be in Kansas City
or Iowa.
Des Moines.
Fucking Nebraska. I mean, there's a lot of corn out here. Come on out here. We have some agriculture in Wisconsin.
Yeah, you certainly do. Some dairies. Yeah, get it out. Get it out. It doesn't need to be.
Get the fuck out of there, right?
Yeah.
The ATF and the DEA, just fucking, that's one thing, and let's figure that out.
Let's get them out and get rid of. I love the discussion about, they're talking about getting rid of the IRS. Whether they'll ever do it or not is another thing, but they really should.
It's called it's the ERS now. It's the External Revenue Service.
Yeah. Yeah, we
Yeah.
don't need an IRS. So
Mm-mm.
anyway,
Well, let's get out of here.
yeah. All right. So
I gotta go pick up Reagan from practice, yo.
all right. Well, good yapping. Let's do it again.
Yes,
Same
sir.
time,
Good
same
talk.
channel.
Thanks, Tim.
Okay. Take care.
Good night, everybody.
Bye bye.